Hey everybody, it is February 22nd, 2008. I am Sonic Sons, and I'm about to give you an excerpt of a thing I did a few days ago, and I was thinking about how to do computers better. And I went on for quite a while on ideas of advanced computing and fluid file system and all this sorts of stuff. As you can see that, I'm sorry for the weird little audio thing. Every time I say an S, there's a little zap, sort of, I don't know. Maybe you won't notice it that much. But I hope you enjoy. Basically, you're trying to invent a new file system. That's what you're really getting down to. So I started calling it fluid file system. And how would this work? Well, yeah, I can still feel eye strain from previously. It's very complicated. It's very. I get that idea that there's like this one elusive but basic idea that's just sort of out there, and if someone were to just grasp it, then the whole rest of this thing would build on itself, because everything's very much connected to everything else. But somehow you can link any piece of data to any piece of data any which way. Like any which way. Like if I got a video, this thing says video32.wmv. What I have here is a chunk of my memory, a chunk of the space on the hard drive, which is associated with a text file, and that text file reads video32, and it's associated with the WMV file type, whether by registering at some point, or, you know, they just read over the file, like, you know, there's a little marker at the beginning, it says WMV, and then there's a separate text file, which is video32.wmv, and it combines those things together. And it's also associated with the picture, which is showing on the icon right there. And all of that is associated with it being in that folder, and that folder is associated with being open right now and being at this particular part of the screen, and, you know, where you could click, and that brings up the folder. And I brought it up. Everything's associated with everything else. How does it actually work? I don't know. But things have to link to each other. So like, you find this quickly gets to infinity. I think there's multiply, and one of the very key concepts I came up with was, what's the word? Relevance. Relevance is the word. And that is, you can have like an infinite number of contacts between various pieces of information. But as things have less relevance, we spend less memory on them, and less resources in general on them. And so you have this sort of a geometric infinite series, not strictly geometric, but it's an infinite series it's a summable a word? A summable infinite series. A closed infinite series, whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's an infinite number of things, but somehow because the things are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, it all overall adds up to a finite amount of stuff. And I realized there's like infinite levels of data here, because, you know, relevance, okay, so I have, you know, this video file, and that's kind of relevant because I have the user say that I care about these video files, and hopefully the computer will believe me. But it's not as relevant as, say, like this video 32. I believe that's a testing video. It's not as relevant as this other video I just did for Ardo and 1,000 Mournful Failures. And so, in the background, the computer may, for instance, make backup copies of things, and those things with greater relevance, it would spend more resources on, right? And video 32 wouldn't get backed up, but that's okay. But then there's even more relevance in the sense of, like, when I click on video 32 and I bring it into playing, now it's extremely relevant. It's right there on the screen, and so it's putting all sorts of resources into making sure that it's applying on the screen properly. It doesn't want anything to get rid of it because apparently it's very important to me at this moment. Apparently, it might not be. Even among things I'm looking at this moment. That's kind of fluid, you know, as to which things I'm looking at the moment I can lose, and which things I want to keep forever, and which things, you know, and then there's data like in the RAM, and there's data in the hard drive, and there's data on other media, like I could burn something to a CD, for instance. It could keep track of my, previous track record at keeping track of CDs, and what are my odds of losing it, or the odds of it getting scratched or something, and recommend to that relevance. And it's like, well, look, this is important. Let's make sure we have a backup copy, something like that. It's not just all backup copies. This is not just make sure this is important, so make sure we don't lose it. That's just one application. We could do these, do alternate media. We could do, okay, so this external hard drive, we put it in the external hard drive. Is that more safe? Is that less safe? Is that, and so you see, now this thing is associated with the hard drive. This hard drive is associated with a certain safety thing. It's associated with the idea of keeping things safe. I could easily program the computer to do the opposite and burn everything and make sure all data, or a particular sort of data, is completely deleted and wiped away. And then if so, the computer's got to figure out how it's going to keep track of things I want to get rid of, because if I really want to get rid of them, you want to get rid of the records that I got rid of them, and that I got, computer's got to link to itself and almost understand itself. It's kind of creepy. It seems to lead artificial intelligence, not necessarily, but kind of. And then you could put files on various things on the internet. You can even put files in the nether, as in stuff that isn't actually there, but we could find out. I don't know. Let's say I'm researching Israel, right? And I start compiling data about Israel, and so it would be very important for the thing to know. Okay, Israel is a country. And what is a country? Countries is these other things, and then the computer doesn't necessarily have on hard drive a list of all the countries in the world, but it's aware of its capability of finding out. Because it knows that there's this thing on the internet, there's Wikipedia, for instance, it can be a country, and you can look up a list, and it can figure through the different things, and it modifies itself as it goes, and figures out, oh wait, this is a list of countries, and then and it starts scanning the text document of Wikipedia, of mainly text, whatever, of hypertext, whatever. Wikipedia of this list of countries, and it reads say bullet points. Maybe it's a list of bullet points. I don't know. And it knows that a bullet point is associated with a list, and it knows it was looking for lists. Bullet point, list, bullet. Okay, so this is a thing. Okay, and then this is a thing, and then we're looking for country. And we find Israel. Okay, understand this man, public. All right, so all of these, then this is on this, all that. That must be country. So this is a sub bullet point. Okay, bullet points are associated with this idea of having a sub member. That isn't necessary, and at some point you may have to ask me, so I think that's kind of an intriguing idea. The computer can be all this stuff, but I'm still at the core of it, and I can, I give it certain human guidance that otherwise can't understand. But every time I tell it to do something, it learns from it, sort of deal, by this fluid file system. Everything learns everything else. So, I'm researching Israel, right? And I got this country, and it knows Israel is a country, and I'm and it knows Israel, I don't know, maybe it has military, and I'd be okay, compare Israel's military to military of other countries. Now, it has nothing on the hard disk regarding the military of other countries, let's say, or maybe, or of all other countries. And so it can be okay, well, Israel's country, military, okay, military is associated with countries, okay, that makes sense. Because if I said something how many, light years does Israel have? It would be light year, that doesn't make sense. And then it would be hello, and it talks to me, the little box. That doesn't make any sense. If I say, compare its military, I would say compare its military is rather big. Well, exactly how do we compare it? Do we compare, number of battles they fought, and then the number of guys, and the time, and the number of overall rates. We could figure a way of compiling all these different bits of information. Interesting.